Everybody, welcome back to Everyone is Addicted. Today's guest, Meredith, has graciously come on to talk about her experience and her knowledge with addiction. So, welcome, Meredith,
Hi,
and
guys.
tell us about yourself.
Well, I am 50 years old and I got sober November 1st, 2020 during COVID on Zoom
Yeah,
doing
during
and
COVID.
I'm
Woo!
doing COVID on Zoom. I did my intensive outpatient therapy on Zoom. And I was dual diagnosed, so I did the mental health and I did the addiction part. I knew how to put the dope down. I knew how to put the alcohol down. I didn't know how to keep it down. I knew that I was going to need, and I needed a program. I needed somebody to guide me. I needed somebody to tell me how to keep it down. I quit every time I ran out. You know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
that's not fun feeling either, though.
oh. And people go,
Withdrawal.
"Did you experience withdrawals?" Yeah, every time I ran
Uh,
out.
that's the worst part about I find with addiction, especially with dope, right? Because like I did opiates. So the withdrawal from the opiates was so freaking bad,
So
right?
bad. That's what
Oh,
keeps you high because you don't want to feel that bad. Like, big pharma. Thank you. Yeah, you look a little bit too young to have made it through the OxyContin epidemic, but
well,
I started by that. So, I'm okay. That tells my age for sure. If I wouldn't have
I'm
already told you.
37, so I'm kind of in the middle, right?
Yeah. So yeah, I survived it somehow. I had a lot of friends that did not. So let me take it
Same.
back for you a little bit and kind of tell you where I'm from. I'm from Gaffney, South Carolina. It's a very small town. Everybody knew my family. My granny played the piano in the church. My daddy had the insurance agency, that kind of thing. And I was so happy. Like I was the little girl that went to ballet, tap, private school, never wanted for anything
Same here.
until, you know what I mean? Like, until my
In
world came
small
crashing down on
town,
me.
it's so funny. It's like not even like knowing you. I grew up in a small town. Same thing. I was figure skating, ballet. I had
Yeah,
wanted for
all the
nothing,
stuff.
and it crashed. So I get you, but I've sort of cut you off. I just think
No,
it's
you're
so
fine.
funny that everybody can like people's stories can be so connected.
So connected. And I just remember being that little girl, like doing my little tap dance and just feeling like the world was just so wonderful. And until I turned 8, and it wasn't anymore when my parents came home and told me they were getting a divorce. That was it. Um, my world, and of course my daddy was moving out, who I was the closest to. And right there, right then was my first biggest resentment. First biggest resentment. I immediately blamed my mother. I immediately hated her guts. And no matter what, my daddy could do him wrong. But then there's the daddy issues. My dad's leaving. Well, then it gets worse. We found out he had a whole nother family in the subdivision next to us, living there. Yeah, pretty much we passed them. That's how we found out. Yeah, he was supposed to be at our Christmas program, and he had my soon-to-be stepbrothers in the car with their hunting gear on. So we
That's a
knew.
bit of
Yeah,
a shock. Holy
yeah. And
crap!
I as a child to be in kindergarten, I remember passing him that day,
Yeah,
and
easy.
so I met my soon-to-be new family. My mom. Oh, well, during this horrible divorce, my mom got shot, uh, and she lived, and my dad went to jail for it. And yeah, it wasn't looking good, but she ended up dropping the charges so that we would have a dad. But we really didn't have very much of one. So that started like, that was so traumatic for me. And I got this great idea, Jasmine. I was like, I'm going to do something real bad, and my parents are going to work together, and they're going to get back together. So I started stealing, right? It
Mm.
failed miserably. It was a terrible plan because I got away with all of it, but I had to go return my. Then my parents obviously knew I had this. My cousin told on me because I had this big bag of shit that I did not pay
That
for.
happened
You
to
know what
me
I mean?
too. My mom found it under my bed and she's like, "What's all this?" I'm like, "I don't know." Because my neighbor and I
Right.
were doing it. My neighbor ratted me out because she got
Yeah, my cousin ratted me out, and I was only 8, but my plan didn't work. I
Mm-hmm.
ended up getting in trouble with my parents, and I ended up with my first addiction. I got
Mm-hmm.
that rush from stealing and getting away with it. I was already hooked. So look, fast forward a little bit. I got to be 11, and I tried alcohol for the first time with these two little boys who went and stole liquor from every bottle, in their parents' house. You know how you put it all in one bottle and you just drink
Mm-hmm.
it? Well, that was my first experience. And I got hammered and I knew I had arrived. I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't wait to do it again. 11, crawling up my granny's stairs. How she didn't know, I don't know. Um, and I couldn't wait to do it again. So my stepbrother, my youngest stepbrother started molesting me when I was 12. And making me do things to him, like we'd be watching a movie and I never even wanted to get caught in the living room. And he ended up getting me pregnant when I was 13. So yeah, I was a baby. I had not even had my period long. And I
That's
had,
scary and sad and all like all of it. Oh my goodness, I can't
and
fathom.
so this little kid, this is back when the protesters were really bad. And, I don't remember any of the procedure, but I had to fight my way through an abortion line as a little kid. And I remember these signs, and I remember them calling me a murderer. And I remember these signs with these dead babies or with these baby dolls and forceps on them. And that stuck with me for a long time. And I felt like a horrible person for a long time. But I was 13,
And it
I don't
was
even know.
also a product of something that wasn't even something you
No.
understood. And it was also family. Like it
But I got
yeah,
blamed, of course didn't say what had really been happening, but they thought that I just had the crush on my stepbrother, right? So I was labeled a whore or a fast girl.
of
So
course.
anyway, fast forward through that. I went to my first rehab when I was 13. Uh, yeah, I got to start drinking. I was just drinking and smoking weed, but my mom and but I was traumatized. I didn't
Of
know
course. That's
I mean,
PTSD.
yeah, we just, sweep everything under the rug and they're like, oh, but I wonder what's wrong with her. But so I got out and I just learned about a bunch of new drugs I could not wait to go try when I got out because these kids were telling me how much fun they were.
Hmm.
And I learned a lot of lying and manipulation at charter. I learned if I told them what they wanted to hear, they were going to give me privileges. So I got to be real good. And I was really good at like the clinical and the learning and letting them hear what they wanted to hear so I could get my benefits. I was a
Hmm.
master manipulator. And I went back to school and tried to make things normal, you know what I mean? Like be a normal kid again. And I was on the cheerleading squad in 8th grade and doing this stuff. And I was popular and had friends. And until I got caught smoking weed in the bathroom with some girls, like real popular girls, and they left me with the joint. And so I got in trouble and I got suspended. And I all of a sudden became the kid nobody's parents wanted their
Oh
kids to
yeah,
hang out with
small town, right?
because small town, everybody knows you.
Hmm.
So I had to go find some kind of friends. So I went to the bad kids. I went to the other crowd. And all of a sudden, I was a chameleon. I could change with each group of friends. Whatever you needed me to be, I could be.
My
And
friend and I were very similar because we were bullied by all the girls. So we would hang out with all the boys and we would do the same thing. We would go through all the groups. So we ended up becoming popular in our own way through the boys. And like because those girls slept with them. We just smoked pot with
right,
them and drank with them and were like the buddies with them. And
right.
it was our way of getting the girls like back, you know what I mean?
I love that. I
So
love it
I
because I
totally
was the same way.
understand.
I hung out with them, but I wasn't out there. I wasn't out there sleeping with them. I just wanted to party with them.
Hmm. That's
you know,
basically it. And they had more respect for us because we weren't sleeping with them. And that just made the girls hate us more. Like the bullying was insane. But I was always like, well, if you're putting that much effort into thinking about me, then maybe I'm special. So I
maybe
didn't,
I'm special.
yeah, but I was too busy, like also like because it was traumatic at the same time, using to kind of it felt good to get like
It did.
just felt good to not feel and be numb from everything, especially
It,
like I didn't go through nearly as much as you, so I could see exactly why that would be perfect, like
It
I
was
remember.
perfect. And it was anything, Jasmine. I wasn't just addicted to substances. I was addicted to relationships. I was addicted to
Mhm.
sweets. I was addicted. If it was anything that made me feel or not feel, you know what I mean, and feel different, then that's what I craved and that's what I longed because I couldn't just sit with myself and I couldn't sit with those thoughts. Oh my God, they
Same.
would kill me, you know? But at that point, I thought they would, and I didn't want to. You know, I didn't want to. They were too hard. And had I known some of the tools that I know now, like, wow, I could have made it through it. You know, like I didn't
I
have
know.
to. And one of my favorite tools, you know, while we're that right there with that those traumatic experiences, let me tell you, I held them for so long, for so much of my life, and until the lady explained them to me and I told her, I said, I felt like it's been right here my whole life. And I carried it and
No, it is.
I couldn't get rid of that, any of that trauma, no matter I'd write the letters and burn them. I'd do all this stuff, but it still felt like it was there. And she said, you don't have to deal with all of it at once. She said, go take a little bit out of it in the shower and decide, okay, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to deal with this. I'm going to cry. I'm going to get it out. Then I'm going throw it away and put my big girl panties back on and get my shit together. And I was like, you're right. So those things that hurt me so bad, I started taking little pieces of. And then I was able, and I carried so much anger for most of my life. It ruined, I mean, almost every relationship that I had. And only until about a year and a half ago, yeah, no, last summer, I was able to finally let go of the anger from that trauma. And I carried it that long. And
Yeah, that's a long time to have to feel all of those things. And you feel it right here. And it's like a hole or something, and it doesn't go away. And I understand that feeling because my, when my parents separated, my mom took everything, and we went from being very, like, I had whatever I wanted, comfortable, to picking up change on the floor so that I could buy a bag of chips because my mom literally took everything. And I stayed with my dad ultimately until he passed. But
Mhm.
I didn't have that type of trauma. But my
But
dad,
that's traumatic, like that what you're talking about. So how old were you? Just quick.
I was 18, and that I just turned 19, and that's the drinking age
Wow.
in Canada. And that's when I turned to alcohol. And my dad was also devastated, so he enabled it. And that's where it really got out of control for me. But for you to have to carry that trauma for so long, I'm so glad that you were able to finally let it go, because I know that anger and you just
And it comes out in the worst ways and it comes out in people, you
you
know,
feel
to people you
bad.
love and you say things and you don't know why you react in certain ways and you don't know, you know, and it's going to take me a long time healing little pieces of me. And it's always going to be a process, you know, like I'm always going to be healing. I'm always going to be growing. I'm always going to be learning. I'm all, you know, but again, you know, there's a lot, there's more trauma. You know, I was raped at gunpoint in our small town.
That's
And
crazy because my town was so quiet. Like, that's crazy.
everybody, well, I mean, like I went to to the gas station, you know, and it's the type of place where where people knew what kind of cigarettes you smoked at the convenience store.
Yeah.
You know how,
Hmm.
and so yeah, I went and I was 19 years old and I was driving and a stranger just he was on crutches and he came up to my passenger door and me being young and naive, like I was like, "Can I help you?" And he opened the car door and got in my car and put a gun to my head, and he drove me behind the local college and raped me at gunpoint. And I directly went to the police department, drove my car there. I never saw it. I told them I never wanted to see it again, and it stayed parked to the local. I had a light blue Escort, so everybody in town knew my car. So my car sat at the police department for months and so everybody kind of knew something happened and so I didn't go out of my house for months and you know until actually I eloped and went into Jamaica.
Well, that's like you had agoraphobia. I'm agoraphobic, so that would create a huge agoraphobic in because you don't you're just like You're a
I was so
survivor.
scared to go anywhere.
You're a
It,
survivor. I've never heard of anybody going through that many things and is still standing and you're sober. Like, good
oh,
on
that I
you.
mean, like that's it too. But like, it keeps going. Like, I was robbed with men in ski masks. I literally thought I was gonna die that time. Two men in ski masks came in, robbed me with shotguns, and all this. And, I mean, just all the times that my life has been saved, that I've been in life and death situations. I had a drug dealer tell my boyfriend he was mad at my boyfriend, and we were at the grocery store, and my boyfriend had gotten out, and all of a sudden, this was a big drug dealer you didn't mess with, right? He
Mhm.
got in my car, and I turned and I'm looking at him like, he said, I just wanted him to know that what he could lose, and telling me that he would kill me real easy. So, there's been a lot of really but traumatic and life and death experiences, and
Yeah.
so that's why I know that I was saved for a reason. I know God saved me not to be quiet, and I used to be so mad at God. I'd be like, why did I have to go through all this stuff? Why did I have to go through this? Why did I have to go through that? Why? And all along he was trying to save me. I was just putting the work into the wrong stuff. He was giving me the strength to save me, but I was putting that energy into the wrong stuff you know so I, I lost my kids. I lost my kids to addiction. The kids
That's
that I
the
loved.
hardest part, I think, is the kids, because like I came very, very close to losing my daughter. That's why I stopped drinking, right? But it's the scariest thing in the world, like, and to go through that on top of everything else, like, oh man.
A lot of crazy stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't tell you the times I OD'd. I accidentally OD'd one time. I thought I was doing meth before I left this guy's house. I thought he left me a line. Well, he did leave me a line for the next day.
Yeah.
It just happened to be heroin, and I
You
made
don't
it
have
to
the
the.
tolerance, right? If you have an opiate tolerance, you'd have been fine, but you didn't. So,
Well, no, I thought I was. I thought he was leaving me meth so I could go be productive throughout my day. And he
hmm
was not somebody that ever usually had heroin. And so I was like, oh, cool. I'm gonna go get some stuff done. No, I snorted the line, and so I went and I left, and I got to the convenience store up the street, and I went to go check out at the checkout and fell out on their counter. And yeah, they had to call the EMS because I fell out in the convenience store because I didn't mean to. I overdosed before, and on my fiance's birthday, I overdosed, and
scary.
they watched my lips turn blue. Had the like immediately a guy put something in my shot of heroin. He called it the Belushi shot. As a matter of he said, "Do you want a Belushi shot?" And I was like, "Why no?" And I didn't mix them, not together like that anyway. But the minute that I did it, my heart stopped and I hit the floor. Bam. And had the guy with me not known chest compressions, I wouldn't
Yeah.
have made it. They didn't have Narcan, but he knew chest compressions and kept me alive till EMS got there. And the people that were there told me that they sat there and watched my lips turn blue. Like I was saved for a reason. And I know hands down, no matter what, Jasmine, I was saved to share my story and my platform. I started my journey on TikTok when I was about 15, 20 days sober. I think I have my first post is like around 30 days sober. Because I didn't have really anybody to talk to. My whole family was mad at me. They were tolerating me, but when I didn't know anybody in Kentucky, I'd moved from South Carolina with one with one suitcase. My mom said I could come home one more time, and I got drunk at a soccer game and embarrassed my family, and I knew right then I needed help, and I told my mom, I said, I need help, and I need it right now. Well, this is how God works. My son's soccer coach, I hope he rests in peace, Josh Richardson. He happened to be in AA, and he helped save my life. He called and told me the program that he did, and when I got out of detox, I called them every day for 2 weeks until they let me in. Until I met my counselor who told me about myself. He called me the hot mess express.
Oh my
And
gosh. That's probably what they would have called me.
because this was me in group, man. I'd be like, I couldn't sit still for like
Yeah, I
two.
always sit on my legs like this, like kind of squat and move around. And I do it even when I'm talking, so you can tell I'm the same way.
I'm way better now, but like before, and he really did. He told me, he said, "You were one of the ones I didn't think it was going to make it." But he started telling me about myself, and I was mad at him and could hated him every day. And 9 times out of 10, I would have to owe him an apology, like after a group or something, because I did not want to hear what he had to say. But he was right in a lot of ways, and then that started my 12 step journey. I had been in many 12 step programs. You know, I've done a year in prison, a whole year. I did a year. Um, yeah,
I
that was
came
a
close to doing last year, and I was sober, but I pick my skin. It's called aphasia. And so they thought because I live in a pretty opiate epidemic town that I was high on drugs. And they told me I killed somebody, which I didn't even hit anybody. But so they were trying to put me away for almost 2 years, but that I peed clean and they didn't know what to do with that. So they dragged it out in court and I didn't go to jail, but thank God because I couldn't imagine that because with my agoraphobia, I would be like, oh,
It's really crazy. I did the cat did a lot of time in the county jail. I was in and out of the county. I have mugshots. I don't have no idea what my charges were. I don't remember them. When I went to go get my driver's license, so I graduated DUI class, right?
mhm.
And I went to go get my permit. I passed my permit test, and they said I was so excited because this has been such a journey getting my license back.
Yeah, same here.
And they told me I had more charges. I was like, what? They were like, it's in 2015. Girl, I don't remember 2015. I was like, oh, I'm sure I did it. I did it. It was driving 80 miles an hour with no license. So I had to, I even Google mapped it and I was like, I don't even remember ever being here ever in my life. And that's how bad it was. So
I
yeah,
used to hit
and
parked cars all the time. I hit an 18 wheeler drunk. That was something I did get charged for. I didn't go to prison, but I did get charged for. So I've spent a lot of time in the lockup, and that's where I freak right out. But
I bet.
I never got like enough charges where that I had to go away. But I know exactly what you mean because it took me 10 years to go and get my license back. And same thing, they're like, you have this fine and this speeding ticket. And I'm like, what?
Like,
Don't
oh,
remember.
oh. Yeah, when they told me that, I was devastated because it was. I had gotten I was so hard. I studied for my test. I was so ready to have my permit, and just to find that over was another kick. You know, and sobriety has been it's been a lot of kick downs, but it's
Yeah.
been a lot of upstarts. But what I was saying about my TikTok, so I started my TikTok, and people it started holding me accountable, and people started watching my journey, and I started watching my own journey, and
That's the
and I
cool part.
wanted. Yeah, like I wanted to show people. I was like, well, if I'm on here, like I can't mess up,
Because you can see
because it's all
yourself and your changes, which is amazing. I never thought to
it's
do that because that's
I'm so
oh,
glad I did. I'm so glad I have because I'm not a journaler, but I have my video journals, and
exactly.
that's my reels are my video journals, and I've had trouble talking, like actually speaking, because I didn't speak for so long. That's
Hmm.
the day that I knew that I was going to live. I was sitting in a trap house. It was my house, and there was this gray cloud over me. There was a mouse in the corner. There was roaches in there, and I looked around, Jasmine, and I said, "I can't even talk, and I don't have anybody to talk to. I'm not going to die." I knew right then, and my kids flashed before my eyes. I said, "I'm not going to die today." I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I knew I wasn't going. I knew I wasn't going to die.
So that's
And
what
I
brought
began
you to
my
that's what brought you to like trying to get sober. Was that like moment?
That was that pivotal moment, and I would like to say I got sober immediately, but that just gave me that little glimmer of
Hmm.
hope. Then that's all you need. You need a tiny shred of hope, and you need to be willing. If you're not willing, you can have all the hope in the world, but if you're
Yeah.
not willing to do anything to change your situation, nothing changes if nothing changes.
Yeah, that old saying, right? Well, that was
You
kind of like
know?
when me, my husband overdosed and was in the hospital, and the whole week he was in the hospital, I wanted to quit, but I was kept using everything in the house still, right? And then he came home and overdosed two more times,
Mm,
and then I was like, just seeing his body like that, I don't know how I didn't overdose. I'm half his size. I At that point I was 70 pounds from doing fentanyl, right? And
mm-hmm.
um I thought I was gonna die from malnutrition. So that was my pivotal moment. But him, like seeing him like that, he went to the methadone clinic after he got out of the hospital. And so then I decided, like that's where the hope is going to be. I need to get out of this. I can't use around him or he will die. And I don't want to die from not from malnutrition because I was so skinny. So I totally understand that point where you're just like, okay,
I know I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna die.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
die. Yeah,
yeah,
and it wasn't like my worst rock bottom. I had rock bottom, like I tell people, it was a place I vacationed. I would be,
yeah.
when I went to
I
jail,
lived
that was
in
rock
rock bottom.
bottom,
I say
or
I've been
when,
to hell. I've seen
yeah,
hell.
yeah. Yeah, we're like we've been there, and like and it's in I wrote a little excerpt in a book, a poem in a book, so that was published. And it says it talks about vacationing at rock bottom because but that pivotal moment when I knew I was gonna die, that wasn't my worst rock bottom. That was just that
One of
I'm
them.
gonna die. That in that moment I knew it
Mhm.
that I was gonna do, something to change it. I didn't know what. And it wasn't until I actually went to a program to where, until I got up here to Louisville, to where I became willing to do whatever it took. And the thing was, is they told me, I did the 12-step program. I'm not in a 12-step program now. I do my own path of recovery. I
Yeah,
believe
same.
in all paths of recovery. I don't believe, and TikTok showed me that. I was very closed minded and very narrow minded. I thought 12-step program was the
Yeah.
only way. And I
I
thought that was the only way to go. That was the only way you could do it. That was the only way that was right because that's the way I learned when I was 13.
That's
So, but
why
when I got
I
on TikTok, I found this world of people recovering different. And I was like,
that's exactly why I do this podcast, is because I don't think recovery is one size fits all. And like you said, a lot of us, especially in small towns, think that 12-step programs are the only way. I actually go to my addictions doctor, and that's where I found my way. But a lot of people are don't understand methadone clinics or different because we're not taught these things. So, like you said, your world opened up, and that's what I want to try to do here.
world. I mean, I believe in cannabis. I believe in the mushroom therapy. I believe
Yeah, the
in all of
psilocybin.
it. Like, I don't care how you're living, just live. You know what I mean? The more people that are living, and that's something I want to tell you. I have to support Kentucky Harm Reduction Center. Harm Reduction Center is a huge part of my story. Without Narcan, I would be dead, So, like, let's normalize Narcan,
Mm-hmm.
get it places, teach people how to use it because you just don't know whose life you're going to save,
Yeah.
and they can't recover if they're dead.
They give it
They
out to
can't
us
recover if they're
here.
dead.
They give If you go to a pharmacy, if you ask for it, they'll give it to you. So it's very
Yes,
accessible in Canada. Because, well, at least in my town, because like I said, it's pretty bad where I live. So they give it out to everybody, right?
that's awesome.
And
We're having so many problems. Like our harm reduction center is getting like 5 citations and crazy stuff just because, yeah, they're giving them such a hard time. And we have numbers of how these women have been saving. I was there for a podcast and they saved a guy's life right in front of me on the sidewalk. Yeah.
Jesus,
Yeah,
wow.
I mean, I literally went to go get them gloves to touch him. So I saw this with my own eyes. And
Yeah.
here you got people giving him a hard time. Like,
Yeah, no, it's
anyway,
so much
it's
different here. It's so much different here. And like it like they don't get in trouble. They it's promoted. we have a lot of methadone clinics. But we don't have, like I said, the other options. It's either you go to a program, you go to rehab, or you go to a methadone clinic, basically, right? We
Right.
don't have other ways. And I think that that scares people because
Is cannabis legal there?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, it's
yes.
legal. So I I smoke cannabis. I That's the only thing that I do,
Yes.
but I need it, right? Like it's something that
I,
helps
I use it for
me.
like I ingest it. I mean, I make my own oil, and because you know what, I would, and I never get high. I've never been high. You'll never see me high again for the rest of my life.
Yeah, I
You
just
can
take a couple
abuse
puffs.
anything. You can abuse talent. You can abuse NyQuil.
Oh
You know
yeah,
what I mean? It's
you
up
can
to
be
you.
addicted to
It's
anything,
all a
like
choice.
video
It's all a
games.
choice. It's
Hmm.
your choice. It's my choice.
And like I said with the marijuana, like I will take like two puffs or something for my mental health, and it's not even an everyday thing. And like I said, I think like I have a friend who is struggling with alcohol, and she was really upset that she smoked pot. And I'm like, if that kept you from relapsing on alcohol and all the crazy things you do when you drink, then do
Right.
that. If it can keep you off of the dangerous things, then
Whatever
why
keeps you
not?
living.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why
Because it's not celebrated. Because
yeah.
people don't celebrate and there's such a stigma around it. It's like oh so taboo, you know?
You also said you have a YouTube channel.
I have a YouTube channel that I've been working on, and it's Meredith White 56, and that's where I'm going to be working on my talking and speaking videos. You know, I had to work and get dentures. My teeth were so bad, and I bartered. I worked a whole entire summer when I got here to get my surgery and stuff. Well, they've been horrible, and they don't fit. So it's so hard for me to talk and to
the
speak.
pain.
It's just crazy. So like dealing with all this, but yeah, my YouTube channel is where I'm going to be working on a lot of stuff. But my TikTok is what I've had the longest. I've had it for 4 years, and I have like 94,000 followers on it.
That's
Um,
amazing.
thanks. And I've had I have 6.2 million likes on my videos. So that means at least that means people have liked them. So
And
it
watch
makes me,
them.
and I wasn't the popular girl at all in school
Same here.
after that situation. So when I can look at something that I've worked hard for and see that many people liked it, it like makes me feel really good.
Well, it
And if
helps
people say, you know what I mean? And when you hear that somebody went to rehab because they saw your video, it makes it all worth it.
exactly. And it keeps you going because you're like you said, people seeing your journey makes them want to get sober. That's incredible, you know? And then
And
you
and just look at me and see hope. I
Yeah,
want you to just
exactly. Well,
watch
all
me.
of the things that you went through, that to me, because I'm not in the best position in my life right now, just listening to you right now gives me extra strength because I'm like, well, if she can make it through all of that, I can suck it up and make it through this little problem. It's not little,
And
but this,
everybody's problem feels different, but let me tell you how I get through a lot of it. A, I pray. B, and my God is my God. We are on a super cool level, like like super cool. And the other thing is because if I lived in the guilt and the shame and if I lived in all the problem, I'd still be high. So what I do is I wake up every single day with the intent to be just the very best that I can be for that day, and that has to be enough for everybody. And I don't hurt anybody, I don't steal from anybody, I don't cheat, I don't lie, and I help somebody every day. So when I have those and I keep those in line, I make mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, but I learn from them. They don't have to be big bad mistakes. You know what I mean? And I'm
exactly.
willing, and I don't run from my problems. Like I hate doing a lot of stuff, but I have this mantra: every little bit helps. So if you don't want to like go, if you don't want to sweep your house or anything, Just do a little bit of it because even that little bit helps it look better. And guess what? You're probably going to do a little bit more.
Hmm.
So if you just do a little bit, just do every little bit helps. And you just do a little bit of something. You don't, I like my TikTok is simply sober. I like to keep stuff simple. I feel like people make recovery too hard. You got to do 90 meetings in 90 days. You got to do the 12 steps or you're not recovering.
That's
No, you're
that's
recovering.
why I say like the one size doesn't fit all because that makes people like it's daunting and
So
it's scary. So you're like, I don't want to take that step because that's scary to me. So like that's why I said with you when you're finding TikTok and all these other options, I think that that saves lives in itself because people are scared of that. Like I know that 90 meetings in 90 days sounds terrifying, you know? So, like, if there's other ways and maybe more solution based ways sometimes,
if
like,
you sit in the problem,
yeah.
you're never going to get to the
And
solution.
that's why I think sometimes with the programs, a lot of the time they do sit in the problem instead of finding the root cause of the problem and working to upwards, right?
And you
So
have to
that,
heal from what made you use in the first place,
yeah.
and then you have to also realize that okay, you may not have been asked for the cards you were dealt, mental health, addiction, and alcoholism, whatever. But you know what? The choice is yours on what to do with it. The choice is yours whether to, once you realize you're an addict, every time you pick up, that's your choice. It's yours. The choice is yours to pick it up or leave it down.
Hmm.
I don't care what anybody says. The choice is yours.
Oh,
And
I
it's
agree.
within you. It's within you. And only you can do it. Can't nobody do it for you.
Nope. And
Until I learned that, I didn't, people try to save you and they want to. You got to save yourself.
yeah, and like even like with the situation I'm in right now, like I could have picked up any time throughout this, but I don't think that that's going to solve anything. And
It'll make us
I'm
so
at
much
that
worse.
point with my life where I know it's going to make it worse because I know my story. I know how I act when I'm on these things, and it's just going to snowball the problem instead of sitting and trying to find a solution to the problem. And like you said, being sober doesn't mean everything is sunshine and rainbows in your life. It just means that you are able to navigate things better because you have better coping
You
mechanisms.
have those tools, and one of the most important, the first thing my counselor taught me was to breathe. And I was like, I'm not here to learn to breathe. I'm here to learn how to quit drinking. And you know what I mean? But it was one of the most important things that he
Mhm.
taught me. And learning how to regulate my breathing because I run on high functioning anxiety, all the
Same
time.
here.
And had I not learned how to breathe, and I call it my mushka. Like when everything else is going crazy out here and I need to get this together, I
Hmm.
call it my mushka. And that's where I take all this energy right here and I just protect it. And I'm like, and pull myself together and get myself together because I can sometimes get spun out.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's
Well,
I just love this sober life. I got to drive, but and you have to be, and if you're trying to build trust back, and getting my kids back. My daughter is asleep. The daughter I lost to adoption is asleep in my bed right now.
that's amazing and heartwarming. Like, I just am so happy for you in that way because I know that that is a huge weight lifted off your shoulders and a huge, like, not reward, but it is a huge reward for
It
sobriety, you know,
is, and
because
the
it's so
fact that
big.
I get to do this again, I get to have her sleep in my bed, and I get to drive. I drove my granddaughter and my niece for the first time, and I'm over 4.5 years sober. It took that long to build that trust. So you can't do it quickly. Some people think you can do it overnight. Nah, or they
No,
want so many all these privileges when they first get sober. No, you don't have none.
well,
Like you
my
don't
like,
deserve shit. You got to earn it. You
well,
have to earn it.
my husband lost our house due to gambling addiction, and that's where I'm at right now. And he just wants me to trust him in everything. And I'm like, you can't just expect me to trust you right away. You
It's
have to
gonna
give
be a
me time
long time
because
before
of the
you.
things that's happened, right? And I like so because I knew that with my own like with my family, like my mom never like like tried to get me to go to rehab or anything, but she didn't trust me at all because I would just not be accountable. Like, say we made plans, I'd be drunk and we wouldn't be able to execute whatever we were going to do. And
Right.
you know what I mean? But, before I let you go, do you have any last little, anything else you want to say?
The one thing I want to say is, imagine no matter what, don't give up. No matter what, don't give up hope. Be willing to listen to people that are smarter than you. Then take the cotton out of your ears, put it in your mouth. That's a great thing I learned in
I
AA.
love that
And
one.
yeah, same. And stick with the winners. You know, look around your world, find your tribe, find the people you connect with. You know, and help somebody else out. Because when you help somebody else out, you not only do you get out of yourself, but you start getting things in return that you have no idea where it came from, and it starts bringing abundance to your life. And look at what you have. Live, and this is really important. Gratitude is not just a list. Gratitude is a way of life. You
Mhm.
need to learn to live in gratitude. And let me not give advice. I learned to live in gratitude. I learned to flip my thoughts and be grateful. And when my mom and I are arguing, instead of her and me arguing with her, I immediately have this mantra in my head. I'm so grateful to have a mom. I'm so grateful she's still here. I'm so grateful to be alive. So rather than let these things get past and get in here and bother me, I start being grateful.
I need
Um,
that advice sometimes because I'm taking that advice right now. Oh,
It
because
literally, it's not easy. It becomes a practice, but practice it, and then it starts becoming, and then it will just start becoming natural. Like, man, I don't, you know, and I say my mom a lot because my mom and I have a tumultuous. We have the,
same here.
we're like a. She's my villain and my hero in my story.
Yeah,
So you know, I say that because I use it the most with her. Or I can be frustrated with my son, or you know, for not listening to me and or not paying me any attention, and you know, he's on his phone or whatever, and I'll just be going, I'm grateful he's even still here. That I'm grateful he's next to
that's
me.
what I got to do some
And
days.
even doing dishes. I don't like doing dishes. Okay, I'm grateful to have a sink. I'm grateful to have food. I'm grateful to do dishes. You know, I've just learned to make that a practice, and it's really, really changed my whole recovery. Jasmine, I've really enjoyed being talking to you. I think our stories are probably align pretty
Well,
well. I
I
think
think
we
I
have
might
a
have to.
lot in common.
I'll probably bring you back because I
Yeah,
think
I'd love to come back.
there's more. So I'm gonna bring you back. And I'm going to put Meredith's TikTok, maybe a couple of her reels at the end of this and her links so that you can connect with her if you want or follow her journey on
That would be
TikTok.
awesome.
So we'll
Or follow me on Facebook, Meredith White. I have two accounts. I have the Simple Recovery Society is my Facebook page. But my main page is Meredith White. I have Simply Sober Facebook group, and then my YouTube channel
we'll get you to
and my
send
TikTok.
me I'll get you to send me all your links so I
I
can
will
put them
send you
in the
all my links, and I will send you what was that? I was about to say something else. I forgot. Anyway, I will send you that. But I have really enjoyed being here. I look forward to seeing you again. And just know that,
same.
look, you've been through the worst. You've been through the worst. I already know. So anything that you're going through right now, you've already beat it.
Well, that's what I say because I went through my dad's death and that was pretty traumatic. I'm like, if I can do that, I can do this. I just have to wait for God's plan to unfold for me. And I
We
think,
don't always know what
yeah,
it is.
I
And just
can't
know that
control.
I'm gonna be look, now that I've gotten to meet you and see you, I'm gonna be in your DMs chit chatting with you. So
Well, I want to bring you back because I feel like there's more. I just, with the
I
timing
just
and
skimmed the
everything.
surface.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring you back
Oh
for
yeah, we
sure.
have lots of stuff. You know about my arrest with the head doctor of the mental health center. Yeah, we'll get into that another time.
We'll do a part two for sure. So it was great meeting you, and you have a
You too,
nice rest
honey.
of your day. And yeah, we'll do a part two, 100%.
All right. Well, you have a great day, honey.
You too. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.